Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. I'm Tarash Daniel along with Aisyah, Zaidatul Asmina and Fatima Bashira, and we would like to present our Haccp project, GMP and Haccp. So the first is an introduction. So as per the introduction, we have chosen a Ramly brand, which is a beef meatball product, as our GMP and Haccp project. The purpose of this project is to develop a Haccp plan for meatball products, where we choose the Ramly brand as a Haccp plan project. In general, beef meatballs are high in protein and carbohydrates content, which are important macronutrients required by human body. Meatballs are also very popular with everyone regardless of age. As we know, Ramly is a product that is very popular by all Malaysians, not only because of quality, but also food safety is maintained because the Ramly brand also adopt Haccp plan so that the buyers can enjoy the product as well. Next. So the second is content.
So for the content is organization chart of Haccp teams and responsibility. So Muhammad Arash Daniel bin Misri is food safety team lead. Responsible for food safety team lead for implementation and maintenance of Haccp food safety management system. Nur Aisyah binti Mokhtar, food safety officer or quality controller, responsible for implementation of sanitary and hygiene condition during production and packaging of bakery product. Fatima Bashira binti Yazid is production manager, responsible for entire production process or operation in the industry as per Haccp. And lastly, Zaidatul Azmina binti Zalisma is production supervisor, responsible in assist the production manager in production planning and duty allocation of personnel for the production. So the product description is, the product name is beef meatball. The brand is from Ramly. Origin is from Malaysia and appearance of meatball is round in shape. Ground meat rolled into a small ball. Aroma is beef meat and raw smell. Taste salty and little raw. Texture is having a tight but smooth texture and dry. Odors is pH between 4.01 and 7. The water content or moisture content is between 49.81% and 56.79%. It used for normal consumption. The target consumer is general for all the people. The process is receiving raw material, cleaning, soak, boil, blending, mixing, chilling, manually shape, frying, labeling, and storage. The raw material used is beef, soy protein, potato starch, spice, salt. It contains MSG as flavor enhancer and permitted food conditioner. The packaging size is 800 gram times 1 packet. The packaging material, primary, the packaging is protected the product from damage. Secondary is packaging is used for the branding and display of the product. The tertiary is product manufacture good for shipping or storing. The must keep frozen at negative 18 degrees Celsius. The shelf life is 9 to 50 months. The allergen information is none. Label instruction for consumer is, the consumer must keep frozen at negative 80 degrees Celsius. The distribution condition means when distribute, the product must be prevented from heat, microorganism and other external problem. The truck must be cool and must be made sure the refrigerator truck has no problem. So this is process flowchart for meatball. As we can see, we use beef, soy protein, potato starch, spice and salt. Next.
So next is hazard analysis assessment. So the first step is receiving raw material. Potential hazard is biological hazard. Contamination can be spread by food supplier and handler. During delivery, material is received in a damaged condition. Source of hazard is all approved provider must adhere a to agreed open specification. Handler are instructed to handle substance with caution. To preventive is personal training for visual inspection. So this is the not CCP. For the physical hazard is pollution from supplier who produce raw material. The raw material handling machine is not clean. To preventive is inspect raw material that have contamination, potential such as stone in beef that are not found when receiving. So this is not a CCP. For the chemical hazard is excessive use of additive in raw material. All licensed vendors have followed agreed open guideline. To prevent is supplier must review the safety of food additive before manufacture. So this is also not CCP. For cleaning step, for biological hazard is contamination caused by raw material when cleaning, raw material that have not been adequately cleaned, and then to preventive is ensure that the source material is truly clean to avoid source of biological hazard. So this is the CCP. For physical hazard, food handler do not use PPE properly when handling raw material that can cause contamination. Responsible employer in preparing and training employee to wear proper PPE. To prevent is employer should train employees to adopt the perfect PPE in their daily life and during the working day. So this is the CCP.
So the next step is mixing. Potential hazard, biological, poorly handle food and tool contamination for mixing the raw material. Justification, the individual who handled the mixture was careless. To prevent, create a machine procedure step for employee use. So this step is CCP. Next, for physical hazard, foreign objects such as needle that fall in the machine that can cause contamination. Has an untrained operator and does not monitor the machine well. To prevent, establish a maintenance program for employees in monitoring equipment at the facility to avoid source of physical hazard. So this is not CCP. The next step is manually shape. Biological hazard. During the formation process, bacteria on the hands will adhere. So the justification is inappropriate method. To prevent by utilizing appropriate molding tools to keep microorganisms at bay. So this step is not CCP. Physical hazard. Worker not wearing perfect PPE can cause contamination. Worker wear jewelry such as watch and rings when handling raw materials. The employer should ensure that the employee does not wear any jewelry before duty. So this is also not CCP. So next.
So the next step is frying or half cook, and potential hazard is biological. Bacterial contamination that does not die during a half cooked frying procedure. Some of this hazard is the same oil consumption, and the oil does not change at all. So control to prevent this significant hazard is to ensure that half-cooked fried meals are safe to eat and make sure the oil is always clean and changing. So this was a CCP. Next. And the next one is and the next step is a cooling. And for potential hazard is a biological. Microbial growth will occur if there is insufficient high temperature and time management. And source of hazard is inappropriate temperature. And so to prevent this kind of hazard is use a food control strategy to keep the temperature from rising too high, which could lead the growth of bacteria. And the next one is a physical hazard. Contamination spread through rack used to place defective products. And source of hazard is a rack have not been repaired or replaced with new rack. And to control this significant hazard is to repair the rack if it still can be used, or just buy a new rack if it's still necessary. So this two of potential hazard is not a CCP at all.
So for the packaging and labeling, biological hazard is microbiological growth contamination on the package surface. The justification, the packaging was completed in filthy atmosphere, and to prevent it is to always check the packaging surface is clean and sanitized after each usage. This is CCP. The chemical hazard is direct food contact with packaging materials. Chemical contamination by migration of some harmful substances into food. So the preventive is use appropriate packaging for frozen materials such as polypropylene plastic. This is CCP. So lastly, storage. Biological hazard is pest infestation on product might contaminate them. Justification, there are fracture and hole in the walls that bulk used to gain access to the storage area. The preventive is implement a pest control strategy. This is not CCP. Chemical substances, the item will keep in the same room as chemical substances. The preventive is to store chemical substances in a designated area. This is CCP.
So this is the CCP decision tree. So this is a sequence of questions to assist in determining whether a control point is a CCP or not. For the question 1, does the control measure hazard exist at this step or subsequent step to identify hazard? So question 2, does this step can eliminate or reduce the likely occurrence of a hazard to an acceptable level? Question 3 is, could the contamination with identified hazard occur in excess of acceptable level, or could this increase to an acceptable level? So question 4, will a subsequent step eliminate or reduce the likely occurrence of an identified hazard to an acceptable level? Next. This is the Haccp plan summary. For the CCP1, step 1 is cleaning. Significant hazard is biological hazard, contamination caused by raw material when cleaning. So the critical limit is using clean water to clean the raw material. So monitoring procedure is what is clean the raw material, how is repeat the process on the cleaning. Frequency is daily. Who is cooking operator? Corrective action is repeat the procedure 2 to 3 times more or more. Record a QA inspector check the quality of the product on a daily basis. Verification is ensure the water used is clean before starting the cleaning process. Next is cleaning. For the physical hazard, food handlers do not use PPE properly when handling raw material that can cause the contamination. Critical limit is wear a full personal protective equipment while cleaning raw material. So monitoring procedure, what is using a meat cleaning machine? How is use a full PPE attire while operating the machine? So the frequency is daily. Who is cooking supervisor? Corrective action is supervisor should wear full PPE before entering the processing area. So record is procedure for corrective action should be followed by all the workers and it's recorded. So the verification is conduct daily worker, check if they are wearing full PPE. Next is mixing. So for biological hazard is properly handle food and through contamination from mixing the raw material. So they properly handle the food from mixing the raw material. So appropriately combining the raw material and then how is create the machine procedure. Frequency is daily basis and then who is responsible is QC supervisor. And then before beginning the procedure, inspect the machine. Before and after the mixing procedure is complete, record of machine usage keep, and then is routinely check the machine. So for the frying half cook, for the biological hazard is bacterial contamination does not die during the half cook frying procedure. The oil is renewing every day. So using a frying machine equipment and then how is frying the raw material. Frequency is daily basis and then who is cooking operator. And then make sure the oil is changed before worker start frying. And then keep track of when worker use the frying machine and change the cooking oil. And then lastly, make sure to keep an eye on things during the cooking procedure. Next, for the packaging and labeling, biological hazard, microbiological growth contamination on the package surface, and then the packaging surface is safe to use. And then what is the package? The package surface is clean, and then doing a sanitize frequency is daily, and then the who is the responsible is packaging handler, and then sanitize the surface of packaging before use. Corrective action record the process of sanitize and then daily inspection. Next is the chemical hazard, direct food contact with packaging material. And then the critical limits is any substance that could affect food should be avoided. And then what is packaging material that are safe to use? How is do the inspection? And then each batch, and then packaging handler who is responsible conduct a pre-operational inspection of the product raw material. The product information is available to the packaging handler, and then monitoring and verification record, corrective action record, and then product review document. Daily verification of monitoring and corrective action procedure. Next, for the last step is storage. For the storage is chemical hazard, which is a chemical substance. Different storage condition for a product and a chemical substance. Chemical contamination free product, oil free product. And then keep chemical substance away from the product for each batch, and then QC supervisor and storage operator remove the chemical component from the vicinity of the product, and then maintain a copy of the record keeping form, procedure for taking corrective action, and then the storage of chemical substance is inspection on a daily basis.
So next discussion. There are 5 stages in this process where a danger has been identified as a critical control point (CCP) in a meatball process step. Then there are potential danger in each stage, which include biological, physical, and chemical hazard. First, cleaning, which is biological and physical in the first stage of the process that has been discovered as having a CCP. The second stage process that has been identified to have CCP is mixing. There is a biological hazard in this mixing procedure, which is food that has not been handled properly and may cause contamination. Third, biological hazard known as CCP is produced in the third stage of this procedure, half cooked. Bacterial contamination is present and it does not die throughout the half cooked frying process. The fourth stage procedure is packaging and labeling, which has a chemical hazard as a result of inadequate food handling and direct food contact with packaging material. And the lastly is a chemical hazard known as CCP or contamination from chemical substance has been identified for the ultimate stage storage.
Next is the conclusion. In conclusion, meatball processing and production companies represent a very large industry in Malaysia and countries around the world. In this experiment, there are several processes listed in the meatball manufacturing flow. Among them, washing beef before being cut or grind, soybeans before cooking, and potato starch, which is then soaking, boiling, grind, and combined with beef and soybeans along with the spice mix and salt. In addition, this study also shows how to overcome each hazard, and we can find out the CCP steps that occur in each process. Furthermore, the Haccp plan also gives decision where the raw materials used for the production of these meatballs are very safe if done carefully and with proper procedures. That's all from us. Thank you very much.